Well, intrepid viewers, how are you holding up? Another crazy week. I think we'd all kill for a quiet week, or maybe not. Maybe it has to all just keep getting faster, until it spins off. So what I'd like to concentrate on in the wash-up from this last week, we had law enforcement agencies from all sorts of places who have been using Trump golf venues and other venues and paying vast amounts of money to do so. Emoluments. Then we have the sex trafficking going on where the head of the New England Patriots got caught with his pants down, literally. And it'll be sort of awkward and all of that if these were regular sex workers, but they're not. It's looking more and more and more like serious sex slavery. Then the madam of that particular series of brothels, parties at Mar-a-Lago, photographs are available, and she was peddling access to Trump. Sex and money, sex and money. So I think this is what's going to get Kushner in the end too, this peddling access stuff. But where's it going to go with all this, viewers? I've been in the camp of, the Dems might not be in a rush to impeach because they look like the bad guys and it's difficult to prove and it's difficult to get the votes and all of that. But what else do the Republicans need? You've got folks in Alabama rushing up to have their Bibles signed by Trump. I mean, it's extraordinary. It's extraordinary. So, first of all, I want to see if any of this is going to stick. It's like there's so much stuff, but, it just floats off into the ether as it gets stamped out with the next craziness. So, big breaths all round, big breaths. So, first of all, let's look at the brothels and the sex trafficking. Will there be any connection brought back to Trump? I don't think he was a paid-up member and all of that. I don't think he was part of the sex trafficking, but he profited from it. So let's look at the sex trafficking in Florida. What's in the water in Florida? Oops, King of Pentacles fell out. The greedy king, Trump. So this is about the sex trafficking, the brothels. Okay, what have we got besides the greedy king? We've got the Strength card. We've got the Page of Wands, the smooth talker. Ah, good. I'm pleased to see that. We've got the Hierophant. And the Death card. Now, in a normal world and under normal circumstances, this would be just an instant read that the greedy king in the past has had the strength of connections to get away with it. He's had the lawyers to do the talking. Then the court system comes down, and that would be the end of the greedy king. But viewers, first digression of the day. We are so not in normal times. So we have the ingredients with these cards for that to happen. It's what should happen. When you think of what happened to Bill Clinton over a couple of encounters in a blue dress, this stuff is mind-blowing. But I'm going to have to do some clarifiers because we're on this time delay with the legal stuff constantly. We're on time delay. That thing about the law officers using Trump venues will be reported to some committees and will go to some legal sort of pathway. It's not that they just disappear, but we're taken away from it again. So I'm wondering. Okay, let me get some clarifiers, and then I want to talk impeachment, because I've really avoided the impeachment stuff, thinking, you know, just let it play out. Whoops. Okay, I want some clarifiers here on the Hierophant and the Death card. So, the Hierophant being the system of order, the system of what's acceptable, hello, it also has a religious connotation. It's a very papal figure with the sort of monks underneath and so forth. And the Death card, which of course is not usually literal death, but the profound, dramatic end of what has gone before. So I want a clarifier on the Hierophant and the Death card. Let's go cool. A deal will be made with the courts, and the Page of Pentacles, money speaks. So, this softens those two harsh cards, unfortunately. So, in other words, a deal will be brokered under the Trump wings. The Page of Pentacles, the younger page, pages of messages about money for the Pentacle King, the greedy king. So, in other words, how I'd sum this up in miniature is this is going to be a bit of a shock for Trump, in the sense that he's suddenly going to be named in the same breath as this other sex trafficking. But there's so much else going on, it too will be put on some sort of back burner. Oh, lordy, lordy, I said lordy. Okay, this is the problem, isn't it? If you keep offending, there just keeps being more court cases and more court cases. So, I want to look now more specifically at whether this peddling of influence, which is what it used to be called, for Kushner and for this madam. So you pay me $10,000 and I can get you half an hour with Trump. You pay me $100,000 and I'll get him to agree to something. You know, this is not unknown, of course, globally in politics, but the crude way it is done by Trump org is another thing altogether. So this peddling of influence, tell me what's going to happen with that. As much as the scandal itself, the peddling of influence. Okay, Queen of Cups, pennies to the poor. Oh, women celebrating, and Judgment, that's a bit better. All right, so here, the Queen of Cups, my Lady Diana card. Women are not going to be impressed with this scandal, including Republican women, particularly those who have an education, right? They're not going to be happy with this. They've kept defending him. They've got a bit suspicious of him. They know in their gut this is not a straight up and honest guy, but party first, They are not happy. I'm very pleased to see that. The compromises will still be made by the Republicans. This is the you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. Oh yes, but don't forget we're going to keep getting judges. So, you know, he's going to redeem himself and he's really a good Christian disguised as a fuckwit. No, but this is the line the rest of the Republicans are going to be peddling to each other. But straight underneath the Queen of Cups, which is a very feminine card of emotion, you have women celebrating. And that to me, because it's not going to be Republican women celebrating, means there's going to be a breakthrough in the female consciousness generally about this issue. These older men who have been exploiting women routinely for decades and decades and decades are going to have a bit of a win. Why do I think that? Is because it's next to the Judgment card. So, although the legal case, if you put those two readings together, the legal case is just going to go into a queue behind all the other 100 million contraventions of propriety that the Yeti has indulged in. So legally, it's just going to sit back. But socially and morally, it's going to have a bit more cut through than that, particularly with women. Most women react to the idea of sex trafficking and stuff. I think, you know, it's part of a different understanding of what that means. So I'm cautiously optimistic there will be a female backlash directly related to this peddling of influence by the madam and more generally the sex stuff. It's not going to be the big one. It's not going to be the one that pushes him over the cliff. It's going to purr away. But this is sapping the female vote. This is making it very hard for them to defend. Okay. Now, as I've said often, I've never seen Trump being impeached. I'm not alone amongst the psychics, clairvoyants, tarot readers and astrologers to think he's far more likely to be given a deal and have to walk away. But of course he doesn't want to walk away, even though he does want to walk away, because he knows his life is over once he does. So he's going to keep peddling very fast. So, even though I still don't see absolute impeachment being his exit, I think there's more pressure now to impeach. So let's have a look at what the I word looks like as we speak. Yeah, my general gut feeling is they will talk about it. They will even start impeachment proceedings, but it won't go all the way. The last thing America wants is impeachment proceedings to be put up and a corrupt Senate to turn their back on that decision. That is not good for America. That's why I haven't been woo, woo, impeach. But I don't know if they can ignore it anymore. It's too much to ignore. So Donald Trump and impeachment, what's around that issue? Oh, judgment. Oh, it's amazing. I was chatting away, shuffling, 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 shuffling. And one of these cards has turned up again. Sorry, I didn't have the screen down. What we got was 10 of Swords. You'd have to think this is speaking to Trump being stabbed in the back. Pity it's not the front more often, but in the back by enough sources now as to be enough. You would have to think a hundredth of this would have been enough for a normal president. Is it enough now? I think we're only getting to that point now. Okay. I think this speaks to the Dems, the retreat card. I think that's their energy. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying here. It's not as though they're lying down and taking it. It's not as though they're doing nothing. They have got so many things backed up in the pipeline that they want to address. But I think they just need to take a breather and it's a matter of picking your battles in the public. So in other words, the biggest enemy for Donald Trump and his family is actually the Southern District of New York legal stuff. That's what's going to bring them undone. So for the Dems, it's deciding which of these committees is going to take priority so they don't tread on Mueller. It's about deciding, do they actually bite the bullet and impeach or not? I think they're in retreat making that decision. To a certain extent, the decision's progressively being taken out of their hands. This is judgment, and I love this card because since I started these YouTube readings, I see this card differently, and I see this as the American people rising up literally from the dead and out of a coma and just out of busy lives and lying down. I see American people rising up. This is what's going to force the change, both with the Democrats and the Republicans. The public voice, right? The voice of sane America, the voice of Americans who want to see their basic constitutional rights preserved in the face of the lunatic. Again, look, the death card, if you look closely, it's the king, in this case the greedy king, being trampled. It's like, as readers, we keep seeing a very similar scenario. He will be gone in the end. It's so hard to keep going in this climate. I'm sure you guys all feel it when he seems to just swan off into the sunset yet again. But I think moving towards this summer, it is going to become incontrovertible. So it's how that is handled. And I think the Dems haven't quite made up their mind yet. It seems obvious, and has been for a lot of the newbies, just impeach him. He can be impeached on all these things. And the wise old head's going, you don't want to go ahead and lose an impeachment with this guy. So they're really weighing that up, and it's a tricky one. It's really a tricky one. But I think it's getting closer. When people start making their public voices heard, this is going to accelerate the process. Trump is only there because the GOP have turned their back on the hideous things he has done. They're beginning to fracture. More of them have pulled away from the stupid national emergency. It's now up to the people. So it's so important, beloved viewers, it's so important. Find a vehicle for your voice, one that makes sense for you, so that you don't feel like a victim. You feel like you're an active player. It can be in a big way, a small way, a tiny way, an ongoing way where you do a little bit every week. It can be a one-off. Whatever it is, please, please, I beg you all to stay sane, stay engaged, time out, getting that balance. Because can you imagine what summer's going to bring? Everyone's still half asleep with winter. But I think, for the first time, I think impeachment is going to be talked about more and more seriously. Some sort of progress there. Okay, I'm going away this afternoon, but I'll be keeping in touch. Okay, bye for now.